Last year, the smiles belonged to the crew from the boat Network. Network won the 1990 Bridge to Bridge. Conditions were rough, the time well down. But as any of these guys will tell you, a win's a win. Pictured here on the far right, Dipple, then the world champion skier. What followed for him after the Grafton win was an horrendous 12 months. A number of falls broke his confidence. Dipple and partner Geoff Hardaker switched teams, leaving Stan Najar and Network, linking up with Leicester Fremantle's Moonshot.
There's an agreement between the both of us. It's a friendly gentleman's agreement. We're pretty right about that. Stan's got two excellent skiers behind him right now, and he's not. I don't think he's tip-a-turb.
Then came the World Championships in Darwin. Dipple is beaten narrowly. His world crown stolen by another Sydney skier, Paul Robertson, behind Firebird.
He proved himself to be the best skier. He is the world champion, and he proved it. He had the best preparation, and he was in thought and in mind, he was the best out there.
So we come full circle. Back to Grafton, back to the Bridge to Bridge. 228 entries this year. The new world champion is there, hungry for another victory.
We've been with this team 18 months now. We've started to get our act together in Darwin. We've done really well. We're out to prove a thing today that we are the #1 team.
So the scene is set for a monumental showdown. But by no means will it be a two-horse race. Any number could take it out. You've got the Judge, Top Gun, Mercury Bullet, Mirage, Network, and the Reverend, with American world team skier Marty Wells and Mark Pickering behind.
Well, I've got second in this race 4 times. I've never been able to win it, so I wouldn't mind pulling it off, so it's pretty important.
Conditions are perfect. Grafton's turned on a blinder for its main event of the year. The clearance is glassy, and it will be Aquaholic and Mad Max getting the 1991 Bridge to Bridge underway. It's a torturous course, 100 kilometres at breakneck speed. It's a real war of attrition, hard on both man and machine. Both Firebird and Moonshot start well back in the field, 10th and 14th respectively. Robertson and Dipple have their work cut out. The water has been chopped up by those who've gone before. Meanwhile, Mirage was setting the race alight. The 22-foot Connolly craft started in 12th place. Incoming reports had Ken Broughton's boat steering through the field. Behind Mirage, 2 veterans, Craig Brown and Robbie Woods. Both in their 30s, here were 2 skiers who, in effect, were making their comeback. In the United States, Robbie Woods is known as the Bionic Kangaroo, the man who showed the Americans the Australian way of marathon skiing, the hands behind the back. And these 2 were showing that age definitely had not wearied them. Mercury Bullet, too, was making good time. On Saturday, its chances of even starting looked grim, its motor blowing up. But the crew of the Reverand were good Samaritans. They came to the rescue, offering a spare. But Lady Luck wasn't smiling on everyone. Stinga, driven by Greg Houston, was a victim of mechanical failure. The Sydney entry with observer Tom Moore and skiers Dean Hankel and Shane Helson was out in front and looking comfortable when 2 pistons simply melted. Disappointment for the world champion as well. Paul Robertson, skiing with Gavin watched his chances evaporate. Firebird retiring with mechanical problems. Now that should have made Dipple a very happy man, except that Moonshot was beset by mechanical gremlins as well. His chances up in smoke, along with the engine. His horror run continues. The casualty list wasn't just confined to the craft. 3 skiers came unstuck, winding up in Grafton Base Hospital with a variety of fractures and bruised ribs. With the main contenders out of the way, the door was left open for Mirage. The others must have thought it was a Mirage, as it hauled in those 12 boats. A little further back, last year's winner Network was making ground as well. Najar desperate for back-to-back titles. The end was in sight. The exhausted skiers, Woods and Brown, just had to hang on for grim death, their legs and arms cramped and aching. This was Broughton's 11th tilt at the Grafton bridge to bridge. He'd never finished before, but he could sense that all that was about to change. Not only was he going to finish, he was going to finish in record time. He pushed Mirage to the limit, and then some. Back in the field, Top Gun and Mercury Bullet were fighting it out for the minor placings. Broughton would tell later of how he drove Mirage just that little bit too hard over the final stages. His gamble almost backfired. The inboard engine blew as the boat passed under the Grafton bridge, but by that stage, the race was over. It was a classic case of experience showing through. Broughton, the veteran campaigner, ecstatic, despite the fact he'll probably have to rebuild the motor.
Well, it was glass till we got to the bottom and a bit bumpy down there. We took a bit careful down around the bottom. And then we saw Network and those all there just in front of us, and we knew we had it. That was going so hot.
The official times came through. Mirage home in 40 minutes, 27 seconds, slicing 55 seconds off the previous record set in 1987. Second home, Mercury Bullet in 41.01, and third, Top Gun, driven by Tom Hughes, 41 minutes and 19 seconds. Defending champion Network had to be content with second place in the outboard division. So, to the victor, the spoils. After more than a decade of trying, Ken Broughton picks up his first bridge-to-bridge title, $1,500, and a course record.